speaking of David, I would like to revisit the agony of Eros because this is certainly but I think it's the same for you. Burnout and Agony of Eros are my favorite. Well, I've only read probably 4 or 5 of his books, so I certainly love this book. One point I wanted to make about the Agony of Eros is, and I don't know what your thoughts on this are. Uh, so we talk a lot about this, like the other, and how the other can be a complete alien other, and then they kind of disturb our sameness, our controlled life. But I really like the kind of the notion that Alain Bajot makes, that yes, it's true that the other is completely alien. You can never plan the love event in that sense. But when 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 two love, he says love takes two, and in the event of love, by allowing yourself to, like, opening yourself up to the other, there is a higher truth or a newer truth created. So love becomes a project in that sense. So it's not that the other is a complete alien and then your life is complete chaos. But through this, again, it's paradoxically through opening yourself up to this other, you in some sense you find a truth even about yourself. And I'm wondering, like, if I don't know if that makes sense. I'm sorry if I'm being a bit long-winded,
No,
but
no, no, no.
just like if you want to comment on that, because for me that's a beautiful idea of like letting ourselves love and opening ourselves up to the other.
Yeah, I think maybe something that you also are you're also expressing in that with that sentiment is the idea that the other is not just outside, that it's an inner, it's an
Absolutely.
inner other too that you discover about yourself. That this logic of sameness, this imposition that we do, we also impose it on ourselves. Like the idea of waking up and planning every minute since the moment you wake up until the moment, optimizing everything. Optimization is really based on the assumption that I know myself. I know what I can do and I know what I want to do. But it's a very dull life if I operate with the assumption that I know everything about myself. I know what I should do. So yeah, I agree that it's in our relationships that we find aspects of ourselves that we wouldn't find. I A long time ago, I had a friend who is a very close friend, and in a sentimental moment, she told me, "If I don't talk with you for too long, I will forget who I am." And it really made me think. I feel like that's a general statement that we could apply to all good friendships. That if we don't get in touch with our good friends, we will really lose touch with ourselves. Because they provide us with a place, a good friendship, a good conversation. It provides us with a place to be, to dwell, to express who we are, and then be responded to. And in that dialogue, we find something, and that part of that something is ourselves. But it's not the narcissistic self.
Mm.
It's the other self, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. And how have you found? Because I was gonna read out. It's a bit of a mouthful, so let me. In fact, because the book ends the agony of Eros, and I'm so glad you brought up your friend because the part I'm gonna read is about friendship.
Mhm.
So Byung-Chul Han ends the book saying, "The philosopher is a friend, a lover. Here, the lover is not an outward personality, an empirical circumstance, but a presence that is intrinsic to thought, a condition of possibility of thought itself, a living
Mhm.
category, a transcendental lived reality." And this is perhaps my favorite part because the idea of thinking, uh, thinking in the strong sense begins with Eros. To be able to think, one must first have been a friend, a lover. Without Eros, thinking loses all vitality and turmoil and becomes repetitive and reactive. Eros infuses thinking with desire for the atopic other. So, and this, your friend said that she kind of forgets even who she is unless she's in dialogue with you. And I'd say I have a lot of friends in my life where I do know if I don't talk to them, eventually I start forgetting even who I am.
I love that line. Thank you for reading that. To be able to think, one must first have been a friend, a lover. It's so true. And you know, because people who have an interest in philosophy and have been involved with philosophy for years, they might forget that it didn't begin with an interest in a given book or a philosophical question. It began as maybe in the context of a relationship with a teacher or with a friend, with a person who seemed very intriguing. There was friendliness there at the bottom. And that's why a lot of times philosophical questions begin with a line of thought with something like, uh, what is love? What is true love? Or, or, in some movies, characters ask each other, can men and women really be just friends? And, that's, you have a relationship with someone, and within the context of a relationship, friendship, those questions are posed.
Yeah, yeah.
But the engine of those questions is their relationship. That's the idea.
Mm.
But it's so easy to forget that. And that itself is also interesting that we forget.